Hey guys, what's going on? How are you guys doing? Hope you're doing good wherever you are. So I thought today I would share with you some ideas on how you can make your playing more interesting. So what are we gonna do today? Today I'm gonna tell you guys about three variations of the C chord that you can play to make your playing a bit more interesting when you practice or when you play a song. You can switch in any of these variations for the C chord, and generally it should work. But sometimes it may sound off, or it may not sound uh, fit in with whatever you're doing. So that's a decision that's up to you to make. And let's get started. So we have covered the normal C chord, played like this, like playing the C note on the A string up here with the ring finger. We're playing the middle finger, putting the middle finger on the D string on the E note. That's the second fret. We're putting the ring finger on the first fret of the B string, which is another C note. So we're playing the open strings on the G string and the bottom E string. So that would be a regular C major chord, guys. C major chord. We covered this in my beginner tutorials with music theory. So where I explain how a chord is formed, I explain the structure of the chord. So if you're not sure how a chord is formed and what notes are involved, you can reference that video. So today, the first variation I want to show you guys is going to be the first inversion for the C chord, which would be, we take that E note, which is the major third in the chord, and we put it as the bass note. So it would be the lowest note we play in terms of pitch. So the lowest, so the E note is the open E string up here at the top. So what do we have to do? That means we just have to strum all six strings now, and we don't have to mute the tops, the highest, like the E string up here, the lowest E string. We don't have to mute that now. We can just play and let it ring out with the whole chord. So it would sound like this, as opposed to, that's without the E string, with the E string, with the E note, sorry. So it sounds fuller because the E note is the lowest note on the guitar. And as opposed to playing that C, we're now playing that E as the lowest note. So, and this is called a C/E chord because we have E as the bass note. And so essentially this would be good if you're playing in the key of C. You're playing in the key of C, and at some point you have to go to the F chord from the C chord. You can play a C like twice. And you can play that open E, you can play that E, that C/E chord, and then go to the F. And you can see, as opposed to going from C to F, you go from C to E to F. So it's kind of like a smoother transition. If you really want to go crazy, you can do, I don't know how you do it, but you can go from C to D. That's a bit too much. I don't think you're gonna have that much time, but C, you can just go one note. When you're doing transitions, you can go one note before the note you're trying to hit. So you're in the key of C again. Just to repeat the examples, key of C, you want to go to F, so you play so that's a nice way to make that transition. So that was that. So that was the first variation of the C chord I want to show you. That would be C/E, and that would be the first inversion. So now I'm going to show you the second inversion, which will have the G note as the lowest pitched note. That would be that. So same thing applies. So except now we have a ring finger on that third fret of that low E string, and we have our pinky taking up the spot of the ring finger in the C chord. Sounds like this. So again, it's a variation. wouldn't fit every time, depends on what you're playing. But a good place this would fit, again, in the key of C. We want to go from C to A minor, which A minor is the sixth chord in the C major scale. And C major scale that means we're in the key of C major. So we're going from C to A minor. So we can make that jump as opposed to going from C straight to A minor. We can go C, G, A. So we'll go C to G to A. So that's another great way to use that transition, because yeah, it just makes it a bit smoother, you know. So we'll go C to G to A. And this works because G is right next to A in the music, in terms of musical alphabets. So and in real life, in normal alphabets as well. Well, not really. In terms of musical alphabets only. So that's where actually it loops around. So that's the one case where it doesn't work in alphabets. But you know, going from A to B is the same, but anyways, whatever. So we're going to C. Get that G note. A minor. Back to C. Cool. So that was the second variation I wanted to show you guys. And the third variation would just be a C chord, but what I'm going to show you guys is what is called a voicing. So a voicing is pretty much where you're playing each note in the chord. So we have the C, E, and G in the key in the C chord. So we have C, E, G, as we know, with E as the highest pitched note, which would be the high E string at the bottom. If we took our pinky and put it on the 3rd fret of the bottom E string, you can hear how that sound changes, guys. There is no name for this chord because, you know, it still has the C note as the bass note, as the root note, as the lowest note. So essentially, it's still a C chord, but it's a different voicing. So this, compared to this, you can see the highest ringing pitch is brighter in compared to the variation with the open high E string. So it's just a variation, guys. So you can even do a hammer on. So you can go, so where you can hear that ring out, but then you have to really make sure you pick it clearly, you know. Or you can just, you know, you can play one like that, you know, and that adds some tension. So when you go from here, when you go from here to that, and then maybe you go play the G. Yeah. So it's just a nice way to add tension, you know, especially if you're gonna go to a different chord that has that G note. Kind of like leads you there already, you know, and it's just a variation. That one you can use pretty much in replacement with the normal C because it's just the highest note. It's not going to make a huge difference to the sound. So yeah, so that's the third C chord variation I have for you guys. So as always, like, feel free to check out the music theory for beginner videos I made where I break down the most fundamental chords you need as a beginner. I break them down with music theory. I explain to you guys why they are, how they are, like what the root note is, what the major third is, what the perfect fifth is. So I do this for major chord, minor chords, open chords, and in my last video you can see a video I made on variations of playing the F chord, so you don't always have to play the bar chord. You can have different variations of that, and so check out those videos, guys, if you're interested. If you're gonna learn something, I believe for sure. check them out. Leave a like, subscribe if this was helpful to you. You always got to find ways to make simple variations so you can keep your playing interesting, but you're not overwhelmed by having to learn new things all the time that are complex. So I think this is a good strategy for you guys to keep your progress going without having to put in a ton of effort. So keep practicing, guys, and have a good one, and see you in the next video. Peace.